Hi, I'm Nadia Dunn. Welcome to CCL TV. We're here at the e-commerce Berlin Expo and joining me is Jeff from Trevipay. Thanks so much for joining us, Jeff. Nearly the end of the day. How's it been for you?
It's been great. It's been a great show. As I mentioned earlier, I started the day with a keynote on stage B and that went good. It was well attended and the show's been great.
Excellent. Well, before we get to your presentation, tell us a bit about Trevipay and your role there.
Okay. So I am the Chief Revenue Officer for Trevipay. Trevipay is a global B2B payments and invoicing network. We provide closed loop private networks for sellers to sell to buyers. We do this globally in 28 countries, 18 currencies. We've got some key clients like Lenovo and Samsung, and we're headquartered in the US with offices in the Netherlands and Australia.
And what's your USP?
So our focus is really around trade credit and building networks. So think of closed loop trade credit where you've got a big supplier, seller selling to a group of buyers. We underwrite both the buyers and the sellers. We have a two-sided value proposition. We provide the trade credit, we hold the risk, we process the payment. We do this in real time with authorizations and captures. So it's sort of a trade credit based global payment solution.
Great. And you spoke about your presentation this morning. Tell us more about that.
So the presentation was all about how to harness the power of a network and how to leverage, how to grow in this B2B e-commerce channel. Everybody knows that the B2C channel has been pretty well optimized over the last 10 or so years. And so now there's this huge opportunity, a couple trillion in Europe by 2025, maybe 7 trillion globally by 2030. And yet it's still wrought with all kinds of manual processes, paperwork. It's just very complex. So what we're building in the way of networks is sort of breaking all that down, simplifying it, and making the customer experience in B2B very similar to what you have in B2C.
And what do attendees and exhibitors get from coming to this expo, and how can Trevipay help them?
Well, I think what we provide is unique. We do this on a global scale. There are certainly lots of players and solution providers moving into the B2B space. I don't think anyone has a holistic trade credit solution where in the balance sheet to sort of underwrite thousands of buyers on both sides of that equation. But I think there's lots of other companies contributing and helping in this ecosystem. I think there's a lot of partner opportunities out there. So, there's a lot of merchants, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of energy. I think the biggest thing we found is just a lot of partners, solutions providers that are here that can help with whatever a merchant or company needs to grow their business in e-commerce.
And what can you get from it? Is that what you mean Trevipay gets from coming to something like this, speaking to the merchants?
Ultimately, we're looking for merchants, but like any company, there's always solutions that support us in a partner level. So it's a combination of looking for the merchants and potentially partners that can help us do what we do.
And what differentiates Trevipay from other networks providing similar services for B2B companies?
Well, maybe the biggest thing is we've been around for 40 years. So we went through a rebranding about a year ago. Most people don't know that, so the brand is fairly new. I think we've done a lot in the last 12 to 18 months to get the brand out there, like being a sponsor at this show. But the company's been around for 40 years. Most of our competition are startups. They've been around for a year or two, if not less. And so we're pretty different in terms of our maturity as a company. And where that, I think, comes into play is more around sort of the lending side and also our global reach.
And you said about giving B2B buyers a B2C experience. Why is that so critical?
It's critical because we're all the same people. So, as consumers, we go online, we go in app, we make purchases, and it's frictionless. We use Uber and Lyft and Get Taxi and all these other apps, and it's truly seamless and frictionless. But we also have jobs, and many of us are making business purchases for our companies, and yet the experience is completely different. So our expectations are really heightened and fueled by our consumer behavior, and yet we want those same things in business. I think to a great extent, the B2C payments landscape is, I wouldn't say played out, but it's pretty well optimized. Like there's a lot of good experiences there. It's just not the case with B2B. And that really has to do with how complex it is. You've got the payment itself, you've got underwriting of buyers and sellers, you've got credit that needs to be managed, accounts receivable and accounts payable, and then you've got to get all this information on invoices and purchase orders and then integrate it into back-end systems like ERP systems and accounting systems. So making all that happen is really hard. It's much easier to hail a taxi.
So what do they do? What do B2B companies do to evolve and make sure that they don't get left behind?
Well, I think most are working on it now because we have high expectations, and it's going to take some time, and people are working really hard at it. There's a lot of companies out there on your floor. Many of them are startups, many a little more advanced, but there's just a lot of ingenious, inventive people trying to break down each step of this complex B2B payment flow, and we'll get there, and it's happening faster. So that's one of the results of the pandemic is. It just accelerated the pace at which digitization is happening in B2B payments. Mm-hmm. It was already happening, but now it's happening faster.
And what about your short, mid and long-term strategy goals for 22 and 23?
So near term, we're very focused on looking for more big companies that need our solution. So people looking to provide trade credit as a payment method, the invoicing solution, all of that. Longer term, so we're building these individual networks. It could be Lenovo, Samsung, PACCAR, and they've got thousands of buyers and we're underwriting them. But the vision, I think, longer term is potentially to create this open network where we've got thousands of buyers, thousands of sellers. We've underwritten everybody. Why not use that open to buy line of credit across other merchants and across the world?
Excellent. And if you were to describe this event in one word, what would it be?
Energetic. They were serving beer. It's great. At 7 a.m.
And what do you think about CCL TV being here?
I think it's great. I think you're doing a terrific job as a host.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. It's really lovely to see you. Thank you and good luck with the rest of the event.
Thank you very much.
I'll see you for a beer later.
Sounds good. I'm in.